actual manner in which that.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
It will take them a lot of effort to try and. They're very good at picking themselves up.
The Exile was the story of Osama bin Laden hiding once he went.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life.
I need a weapon.
Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Because that story is devoid of propaganda. And that story also taught me something that I didn't understand earlier. That in trying to put down focusing on Osama bin Laden, the violence place, because of that was very tragedy. Out of Baghdad. So that the other is the siege, which is a dramatic account of what happened when the 11, particularly around Starwood, and many others. And now they have a book coming out on 14th of August. Delhi, the Juggernaut will publish called The Spy Story. And The Spy Story is the first book that looks at ISI and India's RA. In each country, the other is sort of mythology. ISI and India's RA, how they fight each other, how they compete, what are their methods, what are their successes, what are their failures. So Indian Navy, after this sort of rather long introduction, tell us about your latest book and how this takes your story forward.
First of all, it's a great pleasure to be with you. We've been satelliting around each other for many decades now, through different iterations of our lives and careers, and so it's a pleasure, a particular pleasure for me to be on this show with you. And it's a shame that Kathy's not here. She's even though the COVID lockdown, she's working on an edit for a film that we'll be bringing out at the back end of the year. Which also,
I've read the proof PDF.
Yeah, right, that's right. So there'll be things to look forward to at the end of this year. But this book began with an impossible dream. It feels like I'm going to break into song. We had this desire, having watched a brilliant Israeli film called Gatekeepers, to see if Gatekeepers, which is the story of how Israeli intelligence dealt with the rise of the two states, Palestine and Israel, but also the rise of the right wing in Israel, which ultimately leads to the assassination. And it's a remarkable origin of historic giving overlapping issues where this vessel I watched that and I thought, one of the great rivalries Kathy and I thought put in that movie is ISI and the Oregon. And in many ways, it's as important, if not more important, in that everything that happens in the fashioning of that rivalry, and that happens broadly within the region, has told us a story about ourselves and has illuminated some of the experience that we have. And I'm not just talking about territories, I'm talking about everything post-partition. It's been a fairground ride. It's been an extraordinary ride of political and movements, wars, insurgency that involves the great game, the invisible game, the lesser game. Blood plans, lots of forces, both covert and covert, that are operating. It's the world's best story, the biggest story for us. And trying to kind of all immediately because spies don't like to talk in front of cameras, and the challenging is to get significant numbers of operators and their side analysts working to see what secretly and that was that we stuck around, and several decades later, almost kids grew up alongside other sources who themselves became quite senior in organisations, and because we had a mantra from the beginning of not falling out with anyone.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
And we all reached a point where this story became far more possible by being truthful with each other and offering each other an opportunity to use the platforms to tell some stories about great bits and at times parts of
I'm curious in this question. Why would the shadowy figure living their different lives and quick vicious lives as well? Very insecure, paranoid. Why would they open out and trust to coming to both India and Pakistan?
I think it's a war over truth. We can discuss all the other hot wars that have gone before, and all of those involve spies. But the present pressing war is over information, narrative shaping truth. And so the idea that people who have not, who have a platform but have not been owned by any particular side and have had a record of trying to be, as far as possible, impartial and open to ideas, is an attractive one for anyone who's got time to engage. And as long as you offer that platform honestly, you get all his presence to turn it down. That's kind of what I pitch. Well, what's to conclude, we made that pitch repeatedly for 6 years. Repeatedly, we came back with different versions of it, and repeatedly screened movies and showed books where America articulates its worldview, America articulates its security priorities. Britain to a lesser extent, but America in particular, is a great narrative shaper. And I think that message began to chime with a lot of people in India and Pakistan. You know, it is a good idea to memorialise failure, to understand failure, and to celebrate success. It is a good idea to shape narratives, to engage with people and explain what the stresses and strains have been. There are a lot of people who still would not talk and don't adhere to that. There are some old timers who will take their secrets to the grave, hopefully you and I know quite well. And they're from a school where they believe, like the British security services, that a secret remains a secret. But there are plenty of other people on the operational level and on the analytic level who would like to memorialise what has happened. Some are political agendas. They believe they're satisfied with the direction the country is going. They have issues in the way that agencies have transformed. They have concerns and worries about where India and Pakistan are at right now. And those people come freighted with certain amounts of caution because they have agendas.
Which country or in which agency did you find more of this concern? Where is the country going? In war? Right.
In raw.
In war.
Absolutely. ISI is actually, by its nature, quite a monolithic being in that the army is the backbone of an institution that tectonic beneath of which a fragile democracy is built. And yet, of course, India is the exact opposite, which is a robust, cacophonous democracy. Filled people with every kind of storyteller and intellectual, on a creative imagination. And yet there are concerns about the direction in which India may be moving. And so I do definitely think more voices articulated on the Indian side of that. And there's more self-criticism in India. Let me tell you, far more self-criticism. Self-criticism. Yeah, it's a faculty. And yet it's one that isn't expressed by institutions. I think we've talked before, a very good example is 26/11, and the belief of institutions post that catastrophe, the bloodbath, was that the soul searching should take place in secret. So Anne came out, 68, 69 pages, and one just couldn't believe that would be the public response to something, which was a watershed event for the world, let alone for the region. We came out at 7/7 and I could go down one corner to the National Archives and I could read 150,000 pages of inquest reports, eyewitness accounts. And you and I know this is nothing to do with the passage there. It's to do with the political world. And so, not likely there's a chance with all the stories to try and parent some of those concerns and is that although Pakistan is characterised the Iceland as an organisation that prefers to use proxy forces, actually India and
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
From its inception and the creation of ISI and the early operations prior to ISI with nascent young Pakistan, proxies were used in Kashmir, the story of Pakistan shaped proxies in the 60s
I need attachments.
Punjab, the Kashmir, and America has given neat captivate problems inside those full-time areas. But at the same time, one can chart the way that it's grown through the Afghan Soviet War, and obviously the growth of political Islam and Islamism, and your Khoibers, and you have the sectarians with Yandi, and you have people with Jahideen growing up, or the insurgency, in Kashmir, and then this mitosis takes place as the cells split and they create new organisations, and Pakistan puppeteers a lot of these. At the same time, India was remarkably successful doing something very, very similar. But the difference between the two nations is that India didn't focus on those operations and project itself to the United States. I mean, the best example of how India experienced proxy warfare is, of course, East Bangladesh.
I need a weapon.
The Bangladesh war. And, a combination of extremely sharp intelligence gathering by a whole array of forces, the manipulation of groups and outfits on the ground, and the creation of proxy forces.
I need a weapon.
Puppeteer those actions.
I need a weapon.
A devastating result for India and a devastating result for Pakistan. And from that moment on, there was an instinct that Rahman, great for me, the great for
I need a weapon. I need a weapon.
For me, personally, it's a talent. Extraordinary. A man who's helped to make lists, even if you're having dinner,
I need a weapon.
And there'd be a list of choices of what you would eat. CIA about paramilitaries were making all this playing job, then one did the same, and one did the same, Raj, one did the same, Pakistan, one did the same, and from that, people got in and other sides, and India had its own private assassination. Inside Pakistan, Punjab, and other areas,
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Dia macam cimut ya sih. Bandara lagi mana ya gitu. Ah. अभी खुदा दे मुझे पर तो जिस बंदे को मारा ना उसका अलग ही पैराशूट था महंगा वाला पैराशूट था उसका ओशन वाला पैराशूट था एक ओशन एक्सपोर्ट वाला पर उसने इतना हल्का उसने यूएमपी से आधे से ज्यादा डैमेज तो यूएमपी से ले लिया तो उधर जाने के अपने कोक के जब तेज जा रहा है अरे देखने से जा आइटम है वो क्या ये
and those people worked in the interests of RAW in India. Already, they were chastened by the
चल तेरे मार्क पे
and those operations took place led from the UK, from the High Commission. They took place
Watch out!
in Vienna.
Form up on me.
And of course the end results would be found in Pakistan itself. And so there is a long and storied history. Finally, just the final piece that comes into mind, of course, is Kashmir.
I need a weapon.
इधर इधर से उठा रहा मैं
was forged by Indian intelligence was the creation of Ikhwan and
बड़ा होगा तो उठा लेना
And in 94-95, when
अच्छा हुआ कि लंबा नहीं है बंदा उधर आ
Mark
सकता
the
है
location.
बहुत गरे चल देखता है उधर ही चलते रह सकते हैं
basically there are hundreds of them, thousands in fact, in terms of foot soldiers, and the idea of triggering mass surrender in Kashmir
तो एक आ किल और
was not an idea that was born in Kashmir. It's an idea that was born in Northern Ireland, in 6 counties. And a group of intelligence officers were taken for training based with the Royal Ulster Constabulary in the UK.
बंदा आ रहा है
There they got to see one of the world's most brutal and bloody counterinsurgency,
एक नॉक
which involves obviously capitalism,
Watch out!
Protestant communities.
Enemies ahead!
You don't need
अरे पीछे नॉक एक
in this.
चल उधर ही चल ले
The officers came
इधर
back,
चलना है उधर चल ले एक
Let's
नॉक है
go!
वो मर जाएगा
Watch out!
from ruthless prosecution of that war.
एमो है उसी की थोड़ी सी एक 10-15
Infiltrated, puppeteered, and
तो
steered.
उसको और है क्या
And they did the same in Kashmir. They did
I'm
the
out.
same
Need
in
ammo.
They did the same in the Punjab. And many of the events that you would speak bring to place the dividing of organisations, the dividing of this mujahideen, the dividing.
Watch out! Watch
हेड का
out!
हेड का प्रोनो
Marked
पे
a
बैठा है
location.
कुनाल संभल के
Watch out! Watch out!
टीवी के वॉल्यूम कम कर यार सुनाई नहीं दे रहा गेम का साउंड टीवी का वॉल्यूम थोड़ा कम कर
The use of these organisations was the ploy of Indian intelligence against Palestinian outfits like PLO, PLFP, Black September, etc. Penetrate, manipulate that became the great mantra for Indian intelligence. And so what we can see in this, just the beginnings of this conversation, is that there are many things that remain unknown that are never said about the success of I think that the focus has been on ISI. Part of the reason, I think, is because one of the great successes of India is to project itself as benign. It's probably the most brilliant success of Indian intelligence. Secondly, I believe it's because of the exercise of soft power. Because brilliant Indians everywhere, part of the wider diaspora, occupy chairs in every great university and think tank. And they tell the story of India exceptionally well. But that story does not tend to be the story of the hot wars. It tends to be a different kind of story. And so Indian influence is exerted wonderfully in a way that Pakistan's isn't. And India's not had its Afghanistan. It's not had, its internal collapse, which Pakistan's had. And that means that the focus on the internal collapse means that we very much focus on the way in which Pakistan is being punished by its use of proxies, but we haven't with India.
Yeah. So there is something that Steve Cohen used to say. Steve Cohen, the South Asian who you read and quoted, he used to say that India has left Pakistan behind in most areas, but there are three gaps. And he used to say one is the cricket gap, second is the hockey gap, third is the kebab gap. Now over the past decade, we have filled the cricket and hockey gap by some distance. Kebab, I don't know. People will go. But importantly, we in India have always believed that there was a spy game gap. There was an intelligence gap. Not intelligence as in grey matter, but intelligence as in intelligence operations. That somehow ISI was this all-conquering diabolical force, and Raw was bureaucratic and Tory had too much politics. I know you make a reference to that Raw somehow is given that reputation. Is that correct or not?
No, wrong. Yeah, totally wrong. It's a trope. I believe that, certainly Raw was left behind. I believe that, there was a period in which, despite all the early successes of Raw, particularly in East Pakistan and Bangladesh, and in other areas as well, and despite, you being able to cherry pick other massive wins, including the Kargil War, where, technical intelligence led to the ousting of Musharraf's little chat with his own COAS, and, we then knew that the subterfuge of, in the Kargil heights of insurgents was busted. By India. And if you go in after that, India penetrated very successfully using technical means, GHQ, they were inside the computers of adjacent to the nuclear program. And of course, they knew about Pakistan's nuclear program and its acceleration of passage much before CIA. So there are plenty of things. It's definitely true that up until I believe that RAW, despite these wonderful things, got left behind financially. That ISI had loads of different kinds of unaccountable monies. It had direct covert funding from Saudi Arabia. It received covert funding from Turkey. It received revenues, as was charted very well by RAW, from drug running, and sales of etc., which was the excess baggage of the Afghan war, and it was paid heartily by the US for that episode, leading and entitled. So, those events definitely stepped up. Plus the fact that ISI as an organisation became battlegrounds. There cannot be many organisations in the world that fought for that number of years the political world system against an armed and inevitably that would lead RAW for a couple of reasons that you and I know as well. There is a political instinct in India to be non-aligned. There's a political instinct of the peacenik in India. You and I know how long it took to grow a strategic culture in India because strategic studies were never taken that seriously. And the early great strategic thinkers who I've admired and read struggled to get heard by successive governments. They were not taken seriously as a discipline. They were viewed basically as extraneous. There was always a great desire to keep the military and the government totally separate and let the government govern. The military would then be asked to do the chores of governing. And of course that is the subtle difference between Pakistan and between India, that space. That space is now closed. And that's something we can touch on a little bit. That space has definitely reduced.
ISI stolen mark. How much is the gap between ISI and Cross? And how and when was it fixed?
I think there are several stages. RAW focus, one of its, let's say two of its focus. We'll just choose two. We'll take two apples. One apple is that they're going to focus on smashing the CIA ISI plan. That is great intelligence. Why has America been duped? The narrative of India. A nation that was sanctioned for proliferation, for its illegal nuclear program. 92. Remember, comes in, Pakistan is an outcast, and yet Pakistan proved again. America that needs access to the Karachi coastline, needs access to professional parts, needs access to the Durham line, and needs a security part. And India is the instinct within America. So it could be defined by cold brain, psychological brain. And I think the best illustration and that
to assassinate, put in power when he was with Pakistan.
Yeah, absolutely right, and it's a terrific piece of work, really. The CIA contacts ISI liaison, and they say, in Chakala, and we now know that he's the second stage of the story is that CIA say that they know who the protagonist is.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
He is a man with a huge...
I need a weapon. No. I need a weapon. No.
Let's go!
Marked a location.
Let's go!
Marked a location. Attack the mark.
If anything's going to fracture the Americans, then you could finally the expeditionary is caught, it's got deflated, doesn't die, he sees both nations. That is a great example of manipulating your enemy. A second great example of trying to seize that space and shape the narrative is in selling the idea that the ISI funded Al-Qaeda and the 9/11 plot. Brilliant work by RAW. Fed that
I got supplies.
into a whole series of news agencies in India. It laminated together some cases that have happened in the past involving
I have supplies. Wait, never mind.
India operating in West Bengal.
I have supplies. Wait, never mind.
From this, of truth and false.
I have supplies. Wait, never mind.
And became a story that was so attractive that it then
I have supplies. Wait, never mind.
That inquiry was repeated for years to come. And it's one that shocked people who find it Islamophobia. The Islamic nation naturally, finds itself a bedfellow with Islamic terrorists. It had nothing to be further from the truth. All the subsequent inquiries found out ISI was not...
Head toward this point.
ISI was not akin or adjacent to Al-Qaeda. And General Mahmoud, who was the ISI GG, the big chief, who was dismissed. Yeah. He was kicked off the different missions altogether. They wanted someone more American. Great years of attack. They come in and do a job. Hassan was a man who had traveled widely, enormous strategic brain. Someone who could drive the Americans and actually understand what was going on and the form ISI. But an extraordinary psychological operation then flavoured the war on the terror years to come. A recent book came out in early 2014 by one of the former bosses of the CBI, and he wrote in it about his early investigations into ISI funding of 9/11. That myth is pernicious. The seeds were planted by RAW, and they're still germinating today.
So, there is something that Seymour Hersh always said. I walk into his office whenever I have to go to Washington, just listen to story. He tells me that, now I'll ask you the same question. You've seen both the agencies. Don't you think ISI is much smarter? And he says to me that ISI is so raw, it's as smart as the ISI. In some ways they are smarter than us. But there is one difference. The raw is not difficult. ISI is difficult. You go with that?
No. Absolutely wrong. No, don't go back. War runs on two bases. Like any organisation.
Watch out!
It has a intelligence function, it has a terrorism function, it has an analytic function, one through or another, and it has a sharp pointy end. And its clandestine function is many-headed, deep, and operates widely from Chubahar in Iran through to London and Paris. Covert undercover officers are doing this work all around the world in real time. Great success. The difference is that draconian secrecy laws and the culture that exists mean that you won't have your Manchurian Candidate movie made in India. You may get Uri, you may get a Bollywood version of this, but you will not get the real stories told by war officers. These operations
Form up on me.
and there are very similar tendencies that exist. We can look at any of the storied events in Kashmir post-89 with the use of Indian proxies, and they would illustrate how dangerous these operations could be. Secret writing on the massacre that took place in Chatti Singh Pura shows that both governments in Delhi and Islamabad in Rawalpindi were not that sure about who the protagonists were themselves. Their own internal documentation showed that the thousands of evidence showed that renegades had carried out that attack. The fact that they're even raising this in their own deeply classified space, which enables them to talk honestly, means that renegade plans run awry on every side. And there are plenty of these deniable style operations which have fallback. There is a big difference. The scale and ambition and the loss of control on the Pakistan side is vast. Yeah. So
This way to the play zone. This way to the play zone.
That wasn't carried out by ISI as an institution, but it was carried out by a vengeful brigadier.
Yeah.
Now, before you answer that question, I will tell you a story that I have heard from my Pakistani friends, later confirmed by Indian friends in the same area, who said that the Bombay blasts of 1993, they were organized also
Fall
by
back to safe
brigadiers
zone.
of the ISI, who actually raised some money for the operation by himself, holding fashion shows with Indian models in Dubai, and ran the whole Dawood Drive operation. So you see, is this a pattern in ISI? And is it genuinely security for these two?
I believe it's not. I think the organisation is coherent. Totally repudiates the idea that has very close social culture. What it does have is it has. I can't talk about that piece of information either, but it has.
Help!
And this is the consequence. Knowledge that took place within ISI and within the elite special forces. So, at a certain point, I think it'd be fair to say, by 2000 an entire section of special forces had broken away from one company, Zero and to shop, business and advertising. That section caused a whole new series of different committees and assassinated charities and non-committee committees and structures and committee were they were significant but also the disaffected who are trying to smash the CIA, ISI pact. And so the mainstream of the state,
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
I get that. What I mean is these other people who broke away and who were trying to assassinate Musharraf and who were trying to take up the cities, who were doing stuff with the on Durand line, then became self-financing, self-driving non-state actors.
Yes, that's exactly right. And their command and control will change. I mean, there's the same group of people. Basically, we could draw a line from 1984 until 2018, and it's the same bunch of people, the same bunch of bad actors. And it's remarkable, them and their children and their brothers. It's a small group of people. We can name them, Ilyas Kashmiri, he'll return again and again and again. Masood Azhar, his brothers, his father, the family and all that. Amjad Faruqi, a foot soldier who would reoccur, all the way through all of these events, 84, 99, the hijacking of IC-814, and then all the way through the war till his killing. Omar Sheikh, British trained, captured by India, escapes in 814, reoccurs, Danny Cole involved in the periphery of this, etc., etc., etc. You know, there are folders which trace the bad dysfunctional family of bad actors, and how that small family then roped in all these foot soldiers, the special forces, and all the spies, and then they form a command and control outside these people who wreak havoc, mostly havoc, has to be said, against Pakistan itself. I mean, there's an entire folder of attacks on the sheriff, which takes the number into the dozen. You know, we only heard about the three that he faced, including the 2 car bombs. But I mean, there's many other attempts. Bomb attack on the mosque, suicide bomb which stalled outside a shopping centre in Islamabad, a RPG attack, 2 RPG attacks on his plane. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And you know, each one they take to pieces and they find the same components in it: disaffected airmen, former spy, 2 special forces officers. Then you have LEJ element, the sectarian thugs who join with the brains of Al-Qaeda.
I need a mag.
And they have hierarchies. You know, they have a class system. So you have at the top you have the Egyptians on one side who are the ruling class, and next to them are the elite leaders that include Ilyas Miri. Right at the bottom, you have the LEJ knuckle draggers who've come out from obviously from Jang and the Punjab, and you also have the Yemenis who basically are a disposable faction who are allowed to blow themselves up, etc. So there's a class system in this. There's a class system in units.
Yeah. So just for clarity for our Indian viewers, Chandala is the airport at Rawalpindi.
Yes, absolutely.
Military part of the airport at Rawalpindi.
Fall back to safe zone.
Is Lashkar-e-Jhang, which is extremist, sectarian, Sunni Pakistan. Its name indicates that it comes from the area of Jhang, which is in South Punjab. In fact, in India, there is a lot of large population in Delhi also migrated from
It's a fascinating story because can increasingly be unattractive opposition, and somebody who will not necessarily turn can cause problems. And in Kashmir, a courier obviously had been informed of the best of Pakistan, last night said he acted over to work with one or 2 other select officers to lock together using a whole series of money people's and outfits represent either autonomy or secession. And the Council, which largely speaking became, not exclusively became Hizbul Mujahideen, of course.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life.
Mark the
Please
location.
play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Excellent work.
There is no violent solution to anything, and that endless war only suited the prosecutors, the civilians, and the wider Indian population did not benefit. And that caused problems.
Hello.
And no one could guarantee which country.
Retreat! No lingering. Excellent work.
Or was it an Indian piece performed by Ivy War, who canvassed brilliantly for peace and came very near, almost successful to achieving peace.
Enemies
Enemy
ahead.
ready.
But that would, of course,
Oh, Rayappa.
cause, a huge embarrassment in Pakistan. And so even the concept of peace becomes politicised. Whose peace wins out, whose war wins out, who becomes the figurehead for the movement that declares itself as that
I need a weapon.
Kashmir.
I need a weapon.
Ghani Line, truly an independent
Boss,
Attack the
ತಪ್ಪಿಸಿ
mark.
ಓಡಿಬಿಡೆ.
and he complains, never kept quiet,
ಬಾ,
yet meets
ಮನುಷ್ಯನಂಗಡ ಇವನು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಗುಂಪಳ
really quite cruel.
ನಿನ್ನ ಕಣ್ಣು ವೇನಮೇಲೆ ಆಯ್ತು.
To have a more decisive Kashmir policy, even though the sheriff had started to turn off very successfully the Kashmir attack, but insurgency and revolution in Kashmir. He lambasted IB Raw.
ಅಯ್ಯೋ
He castigated and say, this is promised peace.
I need a weapon.
But he
I need a
also,
weapon.
made a mistake, which I guess he
First round I shot play.
was entitled to make, given the service and years of service and Christianity that
Shit.
that he'd given, and that was to complain about particular officers.
இறக்கி வருவான் பாரு நல்லா
So he was on the Christian desk.
அங்க வரான் பாரு அவனை போடுறான்
And Abdul is just there's always an Abdul, there's always an etc. But this built this position. Subsequently, as far as we understand it,
முன்னாடி முன்னாடி
showed it to one side, and the result of that was that the came back, and he was shot
அவனை போடான் அவனே என்ன போட்டான் அதை ஓடு நாய் ஓடு ஓடு கண்ணத்தி கொடுப்பினாலே ஓடும் அவனு ஓ உனக்கு கேக்குதா நான் சொல்றது
Okay.
ஐயோ ஓகே ஓகே ஏய் கண்ணத்தி போட்டு ஓடுறா நேடு இந்த தூக்கி அடி அவனுக்கு இது லெஃப்ட்ல பாரு அடி இருக்கான் பாரு அது வரான் பாரு நேடு தூக்கி நோத்தேன் ஏய் ஒரு நிமிஷம் இதோ பாரு ரெண்டு பேரை காணுங்க பாரு லூஸ் இதோ பாரு ரைட்ல பாறான் அத வெயிட் இன்னும் தராம முச்சிடு ஏய் சென்டர் பஸ் இல்லடா நம்பர் அடி போட்றா அவன ப்ளீஸ் அடி போட்றா ஏய் லூஸ் கத்திர போறான்டா அவன் கையிலேயே டி தண்டம் முட்றா அவனை அவனையும் முடி ஏய் இருங்கடா ஓடு மேல வந்துருக்கான் நினைக்கிறேன் யாரு மாசுரா பாரு சீக்கிரம் போட்டு சோன்டா உள்ள சோன் போடா சீக்கிரம் போடா உள்ள போடா டேய் நிக்காதடா வேற நான் சொல்லி கொடுத்த மாதிரி கத்தி இருக்கானடா பக்கத்துல மேட்சா பாக்குறான்
I'm out. Need ammo. I'm out. Need ammo.
ஓகே குடு ஏன் பொட்டில இருந்து பாரு ammo உள்ள போ அவன் போட்டான் பாரு enemy வரான் கண்ணு கையில எடு I think ரைட்ல நினைக்கிறேன்
Shoot you! All
இப்போ
aboard!
லெஃப்ட்ல சவுண்ட் என்
Next
ஹெட்போன்ல
up,
கேக்குது
the
அப்படிதான்
safe zone.
நிக்காத ரைட்
Excellent
ரைட்ல
work.
ஏய் திரும்ப லூஸ் சிரிக்காதடா ஏ பைத்தியம் இதான் என் பொட்டி நான் நினைக்கிறேன் சாவடியும் போடா நான் உன்னை பார்க்கவே இல்லை நான் இவனை பார்க்கறேன் லார்டு
Watch out.
இதுக்குறான் பாரு உள்ளக்குறான் பாரு
Mark the location.
லாக் ஆகுது சரி என்ன பண்றான்னு
Let's
பார்க்கலாம்
go.
ஏய் செத்துட்டான்டா போ டேமேஜ் பாரு அவனுக்கு ஏய் கிட்டி
they're also against the ISI America Pact. And so there's nothing in it for them. You know, they will continue to do that unless extreme. But there's another reason, and the reason is or one manipulated counterintelligence ploys. If you flip a Jaysh fighter, why put that man in jail if you can put him back in the field? Because then he acts as a fly trap and he draws in countless other people, and in a great counterintelligence operation, any number of people will be back out in the field. We work for Lashkar-e-Toiba, for Jaysh-e-Mohammed, for Hizbul Mujahideen, and they're talking to each other. They're talking to what intelligence calls popularly overground workers, and we just know as sympathisers. People are sympathetic. Underground workers, people who are armed, and they're forming a network, and that network is, will then go on to become an intelligence grid much later on in the Kashmir years, after 2014.
These are ISI officers. Coincidentally, they are also army officers, Pak army officers.
Yeah.
Would the RAW have the equivalent, that is officers from India also operating in sensitive parts of Pakistan?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think RAW's preferred way of working is through proxies. But it has done that. There are humongous risk takers who have been alone, on their own, on lengthy operations inside Quetta is one area in which they've operated. You know that moving across the Durham line into Fatah and Quetta has been a RAW specialism, even though languages have been an issue there. They've had people in Karachi who work outlying European stations. And of course, it's very important to focus on the Louisiana operation, because the Louisiana operation will give us very, very unfortunate story of the length of seas on Scotland. They're on Scotland, and if they touch
among those who believe that the Pakistani ISI colonel who disappeared somewhere on the India...
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Help!
Because there's a certain level of planning, and in fact there are more reasons to know that they can lead that because an NSA intercepts its own conversation that took place using a brand new scheme run by GCHQ and the American NSA, which actually identified communications paths, one in Pakistan, Kashmir, in Saffron, another one which they penetrated, and conversations from their live conversations to be involved with them. And at that time, such was the rage and competition that took place with the security services and the devastating of our operation, that everyone wanted to have an asset that could get inside National Toilet, and also that could be effectively Karachi, where, of course, the Mumbai attachment sailed from to Mumbai. And Yadad, unfortunately, was one of those, kind of redundancy, if you like, a figure who was floating around, a bit of an also-ran, who became cultivated in an informal way without the training by many different people. An asset, not an officer. Important distinction.
He was a former officer, in fact.
Attack the mark!
In your book, you suggest that Indian intelligence had information that there will be a marine attack on India. Did you also know that this will be on Mumbai?
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I've talked about before, and with you, I think that it's a very, very interesting sort of run-up to this operation, which only came to light very early. Certainly, I wasn't happy and I was not always the first pieces when we wrote about it and published the book. Subsequently, we learned a lot of what I think about this business sense and attacks in the UK. Devastating attacks in London.
Help!
They looked at what their
Help!
failure was and
Help!
what their success
नंबर जल्दी आ जा बे जल्दी आ जा
while they identified the new people in character,
Help!
didn't understand the relationship
Help!
the way in which they
Help!
Help! The wider pattern, and the failure to the metadata, the copy of every individual, and metadata is
Excellent work.
your calendar entry,
Get in the car.
letters,
Excellent work.
emails, your text message, dating and timing, the way that relates to contact chain with other people who know you and your family.
Excellent work.
And GCHQ, which is the premier agency for electronic. Solve this problem. How you could know that there were many actors, bad actors, but how would you survive? Broadly speaking, one of the things that they suggested was to look for the liminal spaces. One of the controls, using cheap satellite technology, that becomes an area to focus on the way down. The second one is contact chaining, which is identifying everyone that uses the tool and then working out their relationship. And the third is work out all those people who use similar classes, like word, map that against geography and how they're interrelated to other burner phones. And suddenly they had technology that enabled them to.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Going on in Iraq, which we'll leave for another day, to do Al-Qaeda's operations and bloodshed in Iraq. The second one was to do with operations that were taking place in the Gulf War, and they identified two planning operations, live operations, and related to the third territory where train and they identified everything in those cells. And they called the two other agents within the division that either through photographic and inside data. They then found correlates connected to those two cells. These cells are plotting the Mumbai map. They know the Mumbai target. They know the number of people that are being recruited. They know, combined with that, where in the city the cells are likely to go. And identify foreign an offensive foreign recruit captured in the UK. They then had a community, a cyber inside the cell, separate targets inside the cell, through using a technology that we don't know about, which gave them a live ear. They shared this inside the cell with Indian intelligence, and they shared some, but not all, of the highly classified data involving the burner cell technology and the description of their cells. So I think 8 months before the raid took place in Mumbai, all of that information has filtered down into our government.
What happened? Why did the IW not take it seriously enough?
Well, I think one can only conclude, one can only postulate here, we can come up with theories. Manisha and her kind, a group of people, believe that they didn't gain traction inside the organisation. And the kind version of this says that complacency took place because RAW and IB was so successful at penetrating Lashkar-e-Toiba and Hizbul Mujahideen that they no longer really viewed them as an ardent enemy, and that they believed that they could be inside those cells, militarily defeat them without much of a headache. And so there was a lack of anticipation of the chaos in creating and capturing the That's kind of say that was the story of the make this. Now, then it's not this kind of another trend which traces right way back to the creation of proxy warfare and intelligence. And that trend is to allow things to run far longer in order that you get to see the big and you create far more damage for your enemy. And there was a school of thought that perhaps if an operation would come about, that operation captured in time, it would also expose Pakistan, ISI, and absolutely once and for all kill off all American interest in Pakistan. It would tip things regionally in favour of India. At that time, India still remains largely unloved by the US. You know, it's got nascent attacks that began in 2004, led that far. There's the nascent nuclear deal with India, the civil nuclear deal that's bubbling underneath. But it doesn't have, India does not have the ear of Washington yet in the way that it will after 2009. And these events are key in persuading Washington that, you know, the Indo-Pacific is a thing and that India is an entity that should be wooed ardently. And so you can see the logic with analysts inside Lodi Road that we're beginning to question, although not having the evidence, is there a school of thought inside the outfit that would believe there's some benefit to capturing the entire operation, allowing it to run in a way that would expose Pakistan and fatally damage it? And, you know, we'll never be able to answer that, will we, until there's a proper post-mortem.
Do you believe in that hypothesis?
I believe that the outfit became more and more political and more determined to capture that space. And there may have been an anticipation that it would be thwarted at the level of its landing. The boats come in, the operation is wrapped up, Pakistan is humiliated. I mean, that can be the only explanation for why you have such pinpoint intelligence involving extraordinary depth by two very powerful agencies working with you as your ally, and you choose not to walk back forward. You know, I mean.
So tell us, don't give her a phone number.
Yeah.
Don't tell her.
Yeah.
What's the
She said, people who always wanted to be a spy, in her case, an analyst, not and she was prepared to put up with almost anything to achieve, not because she was extremely capable of academic most users, most IPS or IAS based, the elite, that's what I was she was the force achieved and the strength. was no mean feat. It's a difficult feat. And I know
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Also, women were not given covert placements. They were encouraged to be analysts. The training was much more rudimentary. The counter experience was much more. I mean, she did a fantastic job showing the way of tracking experiences, tracking which you got line events, much more his career relying on less scientific approach towards the vetting of these officers. And of course that will all transfer to the lifetime of the organisation. And she's someone I think who believes in a secular dream. I believe that she deserved very harsh judgment. This is not a woman who is a peaceful or a pushover. And yet she, like other officers, like Ian all reached a position after the appalling 26/11 attack, flavours of organisations begin to change in ways that upset, irritate, cause concern and worry within the organisation. So that's definitely, she's one of those towards, likewise with Iftikhar, said that we should look at people who didn't just represent the status quo, but had resisted in different ways. I think Iftikhar is, in a sense, a match partner. He didn't, as Americans like to say, he didn't swallow the Kool-Aid all the way. He got to believe that there was innate corruption, and got pulled in all sorts of ways that reconditioned him. I think it's fair to say he became a terrorist. I think we can say that, and then pulled back, having seen not being able to live with the casualty count, Manisha was not pressed in that direction. She dug in deeper. She acted as a liaison in those conversations and saw analysis can be a force for good. It informs the greater world. And remember, it's a and the policymakers use that massive insight. Policy for India, good policy for Pakistan. But when that begins to change, and the manufacturers of the product are also the consumers, and they're no longer elucidating truth, but they're shaping narrative, then people begin to
other when I Ibrahim, that's the real name.
Yeah.
He was director of
Yeah. Extraordinary, man. Extraordinary. I mean, one thing we should point out is that you may join people lucky enough to be selected and chosen. But what no one tells you at the time is that you'll be working for 3 decades plus. And one of these 37 years, that's 37 years of missing working permits for his parties. That's 37 years of day and night sweat. And, Harriet's vision of the spy is not Asif Ibrahim's story. These are people who give their life to something that they believe in, and in this case it's extraordinary because, as you know, the winnowing out post-partition, the elite of Muslim officers went to the Pakistan,
Right.
and that means that organisations were hollowed out historically, so that predominantly they were Hindu, but also with the minority Muslim nationals, etc., and other faiths. But predominantly, and then that was become a political virtue later, much later on post the Mumbai attacks. But that's Ibrahim. He grows up being a great cop, super smart guy, great cop, proves himself as both an operator and an analyst. Again, very rare qualities. Perhaps someone like A.K. Verma, one of the legends of Indian intelligence, could be described as both of those things. And that means that having been out in the field and working in the bandit belt and having worked, learning to be a mentor and a coach of founders that he had, which means becoming a leader. He then moves from that to becoming a detective, and then he is pitted against all of the bad actors that we're talking about, this small bad family that cursed the region from 84 to 2000. Everyone would say that. And Caparuti. It's the same. Ilias Vishnu. It's the same group, followed by the same men. So the people chasing are the same, the bandits are the same, and they're tracking each other over these decades, getting older and older. And along the way, some of them are dying. And then as some of them die, the chasers doubt they're even dead. I mean, one of the great chiefs of law is Rajinder Khanna, extremely clever man, who never could believe that Ilias Kashmir, the reports of Ilias Kashmir's death. In his heart, until he sees the DNA, as a man who understands intelligence and counterintelligence, he knows that death is also the cover for another life. And so it's in the nature of intelligence people like Asif Ibrahim, Rajinder Khanna, to doubt everything until the facts present themselves.
There you have some skepticism, and I'm sure you will get a lot of criticism. Obama and Parliament attack. You don't exactly buy the story what people in India widely believe.
When I say buy, I think that a lawyer said this to me. One can only believe what is told. So one can look at the array of facts and reach a decision. Us as journalists, intelligence agencies as analysts, diplomats as diplomats, etc. We see the evidence and we judge the evidence. If we're not shown the evidence, then the story that's presented has been shaped. So really, what I have been looking at with Catherine in this book is the way in which evidence is shaped. And it's shaped by some bad actors, by people who have a record of being unreliable. And so understanding their trajectories and their motives, and understanding what never turned up in court, also explains why court never got a fair go. It's very important to say from the outset that while, and I'll get to this, while my conclusion may not be the same as some people regarding, let's say, a very significant event like the Parliament attack, my belief deep down is not that the institutions are rotten or failing. The judiciary, police service, and the intelligence services. Quite the opposite of that. But it's a belief that if information is withheld, then those services and those systems are stymied. And that is what I believe happened to the Parliament attack. Crucial pieces of data were withheld from the courts, from the police, and in fact, data was manufactured. And for the first time, we've managed to put it wasn't seen. So when you talk about us having, let's say, a controversial different, that view is based on information, also on re-analysis of evidence. And so if you then you see many who also began to doubt in 2005 onwards, next that light, the version presented to the courts was manipulation, and why in 2007 there's a concerted attempt by certain people within IB to push quietly for a reanalysis of Parliament's attack, because
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
was there to handle the relegation. It's also like the French Foreign Legion. Anyone who's going to be fired or committed a crime and legal liaison basically had some kind of would end up in the SDA. And the instincts were good when SDA was formed, which was to get Kashmiris to own their own and we talked and interviewed and met their officers who some really tremendous, legendary officers had the idea, it quickly became a massive misfortune and a problem. People in it were turned and flipped by people they were facing, or they were fired. Classic thing that a reminiscing would be, and other officers involved, would be that they would have access to weapons, use those weapons in their own crimes. Committing hold-ups, robberies, murders, settling scores, etc. Which was classified as Pakistan or insurgent events, when in fact they were just using them. SDF has its own internal audit, which itself raised massive questions about the use of torture, unauthorised killing, seduction and rapes, which have been documented by
झूम करून जर मारलं का लोक तर बसतात मग त्याला थांबलंय कोणती का कोणती पण
They worry about him continually. And when he got involved, he got involved in a drug narcotics operation, and he was shaking down the wrong people in the narcotics operation, and was actually working for the international supply group that was shipping narcotics into India. A section of IB leaked a transcript of what he was saying to lawyers in order that the case would collapse, so that a miscarriage of justice would not take place.
कुठ बसले कुठ झोपले
To expose Rajveer Singh. But Rajveer Singh is one of the key players that's involved in investigating the and another officer working with them, Devinder Singh, facing an NIA investigation, has an even more problematic background, and now is in fact accused by it. And this matter will be discussed by judges in a court of being a spy working for Pakistan, or at least an asset for Pakistan intelligence.
माझ्या पशी 14 गोळ्या बसायची का नाही जा 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 what
and weapons and money, and they recovered their phones. According to the NIA,
माझे
extreme, badly managed liaison with some of these people in Pakistan intelligence. So now we know that the principles involved, in ways that were never shown to the court or to the investigators, were themselves and that the people who were working with them were most likely forced in certain ways to commit certain acts. I'm not sure, but we can look back and hope to learn, we'll probably agree with each other on that. I believe that, I believe there's only some difference in my reading of the war, probably everyone. I believe that, extraordinary, and I buy into it. I've seen quite a lot of the work that was put together by NIA, by the security force, the work that they did in capturing and analysing with that work, and that was recovered. And reviewers will now, having read it, a great book by Adita, and so very good journalism that's been carried out in different outlets in India. There was a Jage cell that was harmful these are incontrovertible facts. The difference is that I have a long history on the Pakistan side, so I can bring perhaps to the story a bit of the knowledge of what was going on inside the Pakistan side, and the story is excellent on the Indian side. It involves the NIA operation and BSF's actions. So when you consider things more holistically, an interesting thing to see is the role of RSI. So it's in the nature of these things that the first reaction of Indian security services is to project everything. And yet what you have here, when you look back at the trajectory of people involved, is that many of these people themselves been hunted by our side, having mounted serial and repeated attacks on GHQ, Rawalpindi, Musharraf, ISI commanders, corps commanders, and they had set up a new base in southern Afghanistan in liberated territory, lawless territory near to Lashkar, in between there, and another base in Pos, where they've been training and operating for some time. And in fact, the more nuanced story is that they were shut down, and a lot of their operations, barring the odious Masood Azhar, had been shut down. Masood Azhar was being used as an interlocutor by ISI. He was shuttling up and down, attempting to carry messages with another group, who were causing problems for the Chinese, and ISI manipulated him in every way they could. But, broadly speaking, Jaish as it existed in 2002 was a fully trained-up asset of ISI, causing harm that show Omlet's costing £1 million and that show the way in which a special photograph is being built. It's the same forensic pathology of the device that blew up married Peter and deeper analysis of the micro and once the methods that we use show that it came from 25 years. And so we know from that and more
only objective, the main objective is to cause an India-Pakistan war and benefit from the...
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
These are constant alternatives.
Into the UAE and Saudi and rich mercantile areas of the UK.
You and I think we should put it at half.
Yeah.
Because we can go on talking for several hours.
Yeah.
We want people to read your book. Now, on the concluding note, there are also instances in court where the two agencies have worked together to work a common purpose. And one of those, the first one was 1988, the meeting between Hamid Gul and Anand Verma. In fact, that is something that Anand Verma wrote about in the book as well. What happened?
Actually, it's a very unusual thing. Anyone who becomes familiar with these characters could not see a more unlikely coming together.
Right, absolutely.
It's just extraordinary. Azema embraced it, far too clever for most of the people surrounding him, workaholic, hard on. A man with an extraordinary life by many people for all the wrong reasons, and a man who reformed and transformed intelligence and spiritual thinking, and also an avowed hater coming out of the Afghanistan conflict against the Soviets in the 80s, an opportunity to create a back channel that would prevent blowback. He was trying to cut off what was the blowback in Afghanistan to create greater problems for India, foreseeing what was supply side, newly enriched, newly involved, having beaten the Red Army. And so, a meeting like that would only work if two hard asses get together. And that's exactly what happened. You had two ideologues, two unavowed nationalists in their own country, who are totally, I can't imagine people with the least leeway, both mischievous, both prone to hyperbole, and who one could call, in the kindest possible way, extremists. Meeting.
And they meet in Amman.
They meet in Amman, and the reason they meet in Amman is an interesting one. Because the Jordanian royal family has an interest in this too, and some pressure is exerted on the Jordanian royal family, and they want to host this meeting. And what's very interesting, and isn't in the account I've read, is that there are the on-the-books communications between the two titans, and then there are the off-the-books communications in the pre-Pegasus, they have their own methods of exchanging notes and letters to each other by third parties, and believe that they had the short of each other and understood each other. And I think it may take two extremists like that to believe that a certain kind of peace was possible.
And then in the same year, Zia got blown up.
Zia gets blown up. I'm not going to describe or even air any conspiracies here, but Zia gets blown up, and Gul, of course, survives and carries on being the extremist, the lovable extremist that he will be for many years.
There's a clip from TV clip from Gul, which I will send to you.
Yes,
it's a 2014 clip. He says in that TV discussion in Urdu, he says, we use American help to defeat the Soviets in Afghanistan. He said, in a few years from now, you will also hear, mark my words, that we defeated America using American help. Basically, more derided as somebody who's wasted an enormous amount of money.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life.
I'm broadly speaking an optimist. I always have. The reason for this, I believe, is humanity.
Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Marked a location.
Pegasus is an issue that will be around when this sort of there. By that stage, today, what I know is that we see that there's an Israeli delegation on its way to the US, an Israeli delegation on its way to France. Macron will not take no for an answer. The only people who are not talking about this are India. India's not talking about Pegasus. And the reason India's not talking about Pegasus is because we're now at the pointy end of the proliferation of digital intelligence, and it has overtaken the capacity of legislation to act as an oversight authority.
That's a very good point. In fact, in your book, I also noticed that Major Iftikhar had some sense of it, so he was using to use it only proton and wire.
Yeah, totally right. I mean, being careful with communication, or in the case of non-professionals like yourself and myself, who are just curious people, nosy people, who are information gatherers, hide in plain sight, never lie, be totally avert, wear the wrong clothing, and no one will mistake you for a professional.
Yeah, and always presume you are being because that's what in fact when people ask me in interviews when I take interviews, are you off the record, on the record, and I say I can tell you that never off the record.
Yeah, definitely on.
Thank you very much, Adrian. With this setting, please give up my best and please keep doing the great work. I still would say that the anxiety, because so much has been written on Osama bin Laden, the anxiety to my mind is best, and you are in very formidable competition there.
Thank you. Very kind of you. I've really enjoyed talking with you today, and it's great to meet you again. I hope to see you in the flesh as soon as COVID allows.
Absolutely.
Okay.
भगवान करे, इंशाअल्लाह. Why take a chance?
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Ugh.